Greetings, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to Unblurred Lines, a sexual assault awareness event presented by Black Ivy Media. My name is Rita Pierre, and I am the founder of Black Ivy Media, which is a platform that seeks to change the narrative of the Black diaspora through digital media. So tonight, I am really excited about this event. It's an event that I think will be eye-opening, and I think that it will really truly raise awareness on this issue of sexual assault. We have some amazing spoken word artists tonight that are going to raise awareness through their art form. We have survivors that are going to share their powerful stories, and we have organizations that are actively on the ground fighting for the rights of survivors and just fighting to raise awareness for this very important issue. The statistics surrounding sexual assault is alarming, to say the least. In 2019, over 652,676 women were raped. Nearly 80% of female sexual assault victims experienced their first assault before the age of 25. 1 out of 6 boys will be sexually assaulted by their 18th birthday. And 1 out of 4 Black girls will be sexually abused by the age of 18. These are just some of the many alarming statistics surrounding this area. And it's really incumbent on each and every one of us to really do our part in raising awareness on this important issue, because it can happen to anyone. There is no color, there is no creed. Sexual assault can happen to anyone. And so it's important that we all are aware and we all do our part when it comes to raising the awareness. So tonight, again, we have an amazing group of individuals who have dedicated their time on a Wednesday night to be part of this very important event. And so to start off the program, we will have our first poet, Taylor Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to be here. My name is Taylor Johnson. My pronouns are she, her, and I'll be sharing a poem with you all. Thank you, Rita, for organizing this amazing event and supporting awareness. As a survivor myself, I feel seen, and so thank you. The poem is called "The Show Must Go On." It's his laugh that choked me the most. The irony of my loose leaf gown that tied best in the back of my neck like a child's costume was poorly chosen, and still my voice was steady and firm, almost rehearsed. Once the words hit sterile air, it sounded like begging. This is very difficult for me. What do you mean difficult? He said. Back to that laugh again. I thought difficult meant stop, let's talk about this, but the fluorescent spotlights opened, the room got smaller, more white, and I could almost see the audience's eyes staring at me expectant, preparing my body for their intentions, and the percussion of tools like an opening act to a tragedy. I wasn't ready for the red curtain to be open. Relax, he said. Open your legs a little bit more. It'll be fine, he said. And just like that, the show began. The fear ran from my lips because it was getting me nowhere and raced down to my hips to help in the last seconds. He had already entered. In a reflex of madness, I shut down, and silently, bursting through my mouth was stop, please, but no one could hear me. They remained silent in their playbills, clutched to their chest. I tried to take a deep breath, but even it was giving up on me, staying just out of my reach. Breathe, he said. You are fighting me. My eyes held water and my hands could hold nothing but themselves. The audience members began to murmur, but the show must go on. Just relax, he said. Just relax. He gave me a break. I prayed he was done. But this was not rehearsed. The audience turned the spotlight brighter so they could see. Did he ever hear me? Difficult. I said this was difficult. I thought difficult open mouths, not close them. But this time my mouth was wide open, snapping my hands like a prayer for a poem to set me free, to turn it all off. He was getting irritated with me. That I was not rehearsed, off book. The audience was getting fidgety. He conceded with an exasperated sigh. Thought he would appease me by using his finger. He did not tell me when he was going to start. The show must go on. Do you feel pain? I couldn't answer. Here, here, here. Done. You can put your clothes on. Then he was gone. The nurse, a woman, the only time she offered her hand was to help me close my legs and throw the tainted tools in the trash bins. Put your clothes on, she whispered, and left. With the spotlight, the tools, the empty room, and my words dead between my legs, burning, struggling to stand, my friend opened the door and stood in the corner, careful not to enter the sterile air, as if she could tell not even a woman is invited to a pelvic exam. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Taylor, for just being so vulnerable in your poetry. And again, I didn't even know that you were a survivor. So I'm thankful for you putting yourself out there and really just sharing your story through poetry.
Of course, thank you so much for creating this space.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay. And next, everyone, we have Charisma Lee, a young woman who will share her spoken word. Okay. Charisma, are you able to hear me? Oh, maybe she's not. All right.
Hello.
There she is. Hi, Charisma.
Everybody can see and hear me.
We can hear you well.
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
You're
Cause
great.
I'm having Wi-Fi troubles right now, so it's a little in and out. But
Okay. Well, we can hear you well.
okay. Um, the poem is called "Understand the Love and Fantasy." Why does it hurt so much? Laying next to the love of my life, yet it feels so cold. Am I in the right place? I ask my inner self, lover. Yet the answer is broken, like my emptiness, overlapping emptiness. The sharp touch of his hands on my face are love. The collision of his love and mine are undying. I love you and you are my world, he said. But why does it hurt so much? That's the fantasy I play in my head while this monster is on top of me because anything is better than this. My virtue, my womanhood, destroyed because this man is evil and evil has no bounds. Will I survive this? I don't know. Which fantasy should I come up with next? That's the end.
Thank you so much, Charisma, for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And next, we have another young sister by the name of Kyla Bryce. Kyla, welcome.
Hi, thanks. Okay, so this poem I wrote specifically for this event about 2 days ago, so I don't have it memorized yet, so I'm going to read it from my phone. But it's called Freedom, Here I Come. I long for the day that I could roam the streets with no fear in my heart. The day I don't pull out my pepper spray so casually as if I'm playing darts. The day I can wear whatever and not be labeled a tart. The day I can let loose and not have to play it smart. Is this what being a woman has come to be? Being scared and always on the go, always ready to flee? No, I won't have this. It just isn't me. I will fight and carry my hope till the skies fall. The day I can take a stroll without being catcalled. The day I don't have to hear, how you doing, doll? Because I'm here to fight and I'm in it for the long haul. But I know we can train the next generation way better. Instead of come meet you, how about you go get her? You up? Men, I miss the days of love letters. But there's still hope. Hope that we women will one day be free. Free from the idea of obligatory sex because he paid a small dinner fee. free from the idea of a couple of dates as a legendary sex key. You and I carelessly outside one night is what I see, and I know it will not forever be merely a dream because it will become a reality. Said who? Said we. We're raising awareness, which is step one. But this is not all. The battle has just begun. Till every woman gets her respect, this war isn't done. And this fight is not over until we have won. So, ladies, raise your imaginary swords with me. Because we'll fight this even though we aren't the soldiers, but the queens. Thank you.
Great job, Kyla. For those of you who don't know, Kyla is my god baby sister, so I'm really, really proud of her. This is the first time I've heard her actually recite a poem, and as a young woman, high school age student, just being able to raise awareness in the way that you're doing through that poem with such boldness, I really, really congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, and next we will have Shay Sana, who is a well-known spoken word artist from Brooklyn.
Hi, love.
Hey, thank you so much, Shay.
Of course, Boo. Thank you. Thank you for even bringing this to awareness. And I just wanted to give a little background to the poem that I'm going to give, right? So many times we see sexual assault as rape, molestation, but rarely do we think about sexual experiences that we have with men or even women that can trigger past experiences or can develop some type of PTSD. And when I say PTSD, post-traumatic sex disorder, right? And I even heard it from another song. But I heard a hip hop song where this man was boasting about leaving a woman on the bed with her legs trembling, as if her body was something to conquer. Like he basically fulfilled what she wanted and what he wanted. And I wanted to tap a little further and asking men that instead of seeing a woman's body as something to conquer when it comes to sex, see it as something to be not only fulfilling to her body, but to her mind. And in essence, that will be fulfilling to your body and into your mind. So based on that, I wanted to also bring awareness that even if there is consensual sex between two parties, it could still be a traumatic experience. And that's where my poem comes in. A man feels accomplished when she orgasms, left her in bed with legs trembling. Mission accomplished because the climax hit. But sir, remember she has the capability to touch her clit and complete what you feel so fulfilled with. Sorry to get heavy, but a rapist has gained the same hit, not due to his skill, but due to the body's reciprocative waves. This act of intercourse is for the intimate. Exchanging of energies, fulfillment. Have her feeling she's a part of celestial bodies kind of thing. Speak to her mind, caress her nerves, explore her desires. And as her legs tremble, stay around. Continue to lift her off the ground. Let the response of her body be a musical score to your core. Accomplished not by her tremble, but by her elevation. So there, sir, you see, you have not only given her fulfillment, but you as well. And in essence, it's pure ecstasy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shay, for that poem, for that raw poem.
Raw, yeah.
Sometimes you have to go there in order to really get the essence of what we're really, talking about here, right?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Okay, so going a little bit out of order here, we're going to go next to the message from the Fearless Project, with the presenter being Asta Sharma. There we go. Welcome, Asta.
First of all, I feel so honored and so privileged to be a part of this. So thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Also, yeah, also the former speakers express themselves so beautifully, and I'm really grateful that they shared their experience. So, to give a small background about myself, I'm a law student from India, and I started a project called Fearless, where we are providing free counseling and free legal aid for survivors of sexual violence. So, here goes my talk. So, I have been molested, sexually assaulted, sometimes by strangers, sometimes by closed ones, whom I trusted that will never hurt me. In some cases, I fought back legally. In some, I didn't. Trust me, I do feel guilty for that. And every time that happened, I used to pretend that I'm totally all right, that I'm brave and that I'm strong and I don't need help. But trust me, I was pretending. I used to cry myself to sleep, have nightmares. I used to think, what if next time something worse happens? And anyone who's been sexually assaulted knows this feeling that you remember each and every unconsensual touch on your body. It feels so disgusting. So I used to take extremely hot showers for hours trying to get rid of that disgusting feeling. And I end up burning myself a lot of times. That too, it was happening unconsciously until I realized the pattern. So I know how difficult the whole journey is. Even talking about is so difficult. Answering questions like, are you sure that happened? What were you wearing? Did you say no? Are you sure you didn't give him hints? Please be careful next time. But he has a family and a job. Don't you think you'll ruin his reputation? He had a family and his job when he did that to me. I was careful each and every time. I didn't give him hints. I did say no. I was wearing a school uniform. I was a child. And I'm pretty sure that happened because there's a scar in my whole life. And I've been through it so many times that it was getting difficult to live with myself after a point. That's when I realized I have to help others to make myself feel better so that no one else goes through what I've been through. So no one else feels alone and cry themselves to sleep. So no one else is forced to pretend and suffer alone. So that no one else burns themselves while taking hot showers. If you are a survivor of sexual assault, please come forward and talk about it. And honestly, I won't sugarcoat it. It is difficult to go through the whole process. But you need to get help. And you have already been through a lot. You deserve to heal, and suffering is not an option. When I started this project, I saw so many people suffering. I used to think, will my social work make a difference? Because there were so many people who are raped, molested, and so much more, and the situation is not good. But hope is a good thing and maybe the best of things. See, here we are sitting in different parts of the world working for the same cause. And I think we can bring the change. Also, I would like to end my talk by quoting a poem. I don't remember her name. I think it was Kristen something. So here it goes. I say into the phone, Mom, it's hard sometimes to know if you're making any difference at all. And Mom says, Baby, don't you know how lucky you are? They used to burn women like you. Bust down any door you have to. Bring in everyone you can right after. You've got a voice, right? Well, then use it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asta, for that. And, it's interesting, while I was just trying to put this event together, trying to figure out, how can I really make it just more than a panel discussion conversation on sexual assault?
Yeah.
I reached out I didn't know Asta. I mean, she's in India, I'm here in America. I didn't know her, but I reached out. I saw something called the Fearless Project, and it kind of resonated with me. And so when I reached out to her, she was more than happy to be part of this project. And I will just say, just from hearing your story, and how you took it upon yourself to create this project, the Fearless Project, I really commend you for that, because it's not easy for people to step outside of themselves and to lift their voice to help other people. Um, something like sexual assault is something that can be very embarrassing. And like you mentioned, you feel guilty, even though you shouldn't feel guilty. But I think, again, just stepping back and seeing that there's a bigger picture here and being brave enough to step out, it takes a real special person to be able to do that. So thank you so much. I know that the time difference.
Thank you so much for
Crazy.
inviting me.
Yeah, I know that you probably need to go to sleep right now because I know the time difference.
No, that's totally all right. I'll stay awake and attend the whole session.
So thank you so much for bearing with our Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Okay. And so moving along with our program, we are going to have another New York City's finest when it comes to the spoken word scene, phonetic wisdom.
Thank you so much. I could actually feel you like looking at me. I was like, oh my gosh, she's talking about me.
Yes.
I really want to thank you for holding this space. It's just so necessary, and I feel like this is a very strong part of my life's purpose to, support women as they express themselves about sexual trauma. And so, yes, I'm going to share a piece with you. How many times do you have to say no until it's valid? Must the no be sober? Must the vocalist of the no never have come over? Is the word only to be exercised in the mind of the individual who wants it to be respected? Is it a foreign word to the perpetrator? Once upon a time, I imagined I might date you. You made me feel like a fool. Disgraced me too. It sounds crazy. Believe me, I know. I didn't know what happened 6 years ago. Not really. Not until my best friend told me a story about a woman, an abused woman, a misused woman. The details of her situation moved me to tears. Tears I couldn't yet explain. Tears I didn't know I had. You see, when she finished explaining the details of her story, she characterized it with a word that I wouldn't dare say then. She said it was rape. And just then and there, I fell apart. I could only think of one night, and I was torn by all my thoughts. It couldn't be. It was just bad sex. That's what I told myself. It was the only way I could console myself. To the friend that molested me, it burned me to ever think of you molesting me. I loved you and trusted you. I called you my best friend. No matter how much you disrespected me, even on a night I was weak to your predator friend and you should have protected me. I protected you from the truth for all these years. I think it's true that buried within all my fears, I couldn't acknowledge it. I couldn't process that you could never or would never protect me in that way. When I told you why I was leaving you, you asked me why I never said anything. The truth was, I didn't think about it. The truth was, I never wanted to. The truth was, I never felt good enough for anybody, so I took shit from everybody. The truth was, I couldn't accept it. That this happened to me and I never said it. The truth was, I couldn't explain how after all those years I was still friends with you. The truth is, I hated myself. I blamed myself. Though you should have been a man, deep down I know you never had it in you. So why would I let you carry my weight? Why would I blame you when I was the fool that believed I was safe? The truth is, you would have had to pick a side, and deep down I knew it wouldn't have been mine. That was the truth I wasn't ready to face. A heartbreak I wasn't ready to take. Emotionally void and avoidant, my strongest and proudest trait was to escape. The truth is, at the time, I only loved boys who hurt me and said they loved me to my face. It was just another day. After rape and molestation, we all got up. They got ready for work. My best friend and his friend, it was as if nothing happened, and it didn't. I had buried it in the middle of the night along with my guilt, shame, and self blame for being there. For not running, for not screaming, I buried it. Little did I know this casket would be reopened several years later. But I dropped them off to work and went to church. I sat next to my mother. She looked at me, and I looked at her. Maybe she thought I was up to no good. Maybe she knew something was wrong, but I didn't trust her with my truth either. It was between me, God, and them. Who would win in a court of law? Pre Me Too movement, pre popularization of healing, pre everything that now has saved me from myself. Who would believe me when I didn't even believe in myself? That's my piece. Yes, thank you so much, Black Ivy Media, for this opportunity to share my poetry with you. I have an organization called Voices of Black Power for uh, women of the African diaspora who have been impacted by sexual abuse and trauma. And I'm just grateful to be here and, sharing my voice, sharing my experience. And yes, thank you, Retha. If you're there, you can come back. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And since I'm giving like a short anecdotes on everyone, I met Phonetic Wisdom, I think last summer.
Yeah.
And I know we had talked about maybe trying to do something together at some point, but I heard her perform and I'm like, this is such a dynamic, poet, a dynamic individual. Because a lot of times you hear poetry, you're like, oh, this is good, but it's not often that you find people who kind of like shake you core when you hear them speak. And I know that you've been doing a lot of great things. I've been following you on social media. So, I'm really grateful that you were able to even take the time to be here and to lend your voice to this platform today.
Yes. Thank you. You have my full support. I love what you're doing. I love your mission and just, creating platforms, creating safe spaces, from my experience, like that, those poems are really about my experience. And, even to this day, it's challenging, speak about it. And it can take a while, for us to really come to terms with these type of traumas. But it's very important. And I also am putting together a live for tomorrow with a friend of mine. She's running for city council. And so we're doing a sexual awareness live to have a conversation, about it. And so, if anybody is interested in tuning into that, one of the sisters that actually came to my first women's empowerment event for Voices of Black Power, she's going to be speaking. And her story, it just shakes me to my core, every time I hear it. But just knowing that she has that ability to articulate that and share that with people so that they can know they're not alone is so powerful. So yeah, please follow me at Phonetic Wisdom. I will be posting information about that. So
Yes, and I'll definitely put it in the chat as well too. I could
yeah.
actually type it in now. Phonetic Wisdom. Definitely follow her, guys, and definitely support. We definitely want to raise awareness to people who are doing great things. Like that's another piece of this platform, is to highlight people doing amazing things. And this is work that there's just not enough of it happening. So we want to support our sister, guys. So I put her information. This is for, I think, Instagram, correct?
Yes, it's gonna be on my friend, her Instagram, Nicole Lee City Council. And Charlotte Jeffries is gonna be the other woman who is speaking with her about it. So it's gonna be a really powerful conversation. And, for any moms out there, any women of color, definitely you just want to tune in. It's gonna be so transformative.
Okay, great. Thank you so much again.
Yes, thank you, Rita.
You're welcome. Okay. And so moving along next, we have Philly's finest in the spoken word realm. We have Lindo Yes. Hello there, Mr. Lindo.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, especially on such a last minute request. Thank you so much.
It's not a problem. I think it's part of the communal labor that we all need to participate in, especially folks that hold my identity.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into my piece, It's called Intruder Alert. Yeah. My approach causes an intruder alert. The constant ringings, alerts, and alarms of how a touch can feel like the end of a blade, and she wonders how deep I will cut. And I recognize these feelings because I have never dated a woman that hasn't been sexually assaulted. The first woman I dated shared such stories, and every woman after shared that same stories of how they have baggage when they should never have to carry this luggage. They have baggage not because they broke, but they've been broken into by men turned to wolf. We know them as Big Bad Wolf. That great granny waited for you to come home. Your hoodie was never red until he nailed you to the bed as if it was your cross. Told you this is for you to bear, for you dressing like that. Translation, you being you. Woke up the morning after. Try to baptize yourself in the shower, but you couldn't. So you cried tears that made a puddle, that made a river, that made a lake, that made an ocean, and you waited in the water for answers. But the best advice you got was to learn how to swim. Learn how to swim while you're bleeding, and these sharks in these waters have a taste for your blood, but you keep on swimming, trying to forget. You keep on swimming, trying to forget. You keep on swimming, but you keep getting reminders by people like me. Because it's always someone you know, someone you're close to, someone that's supposed to be family. And I know my sympathy is only a band-aid for the bullet wound that you have endured, and the many more after you have learned how to walk and dodge bullets at the same time, not needing a hero to jump in front of them for you. I just want to let you know I'm here for you to break this cycle of rape culture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lindo, for that piece. I'm glad you brought up, rape culture, right? When we're talking about sexual assault, that is definitely a major part of it. And I feel like we don't talk about that so much. We don't talk about rape culture so much, and just the ideas, the myths, the stereotypes with women, depending on what they're wearing. This is why they were victims, or men, etc. So I'm really happy that you captured that within your poem to remind us that rape culture is still a thing, right? That we definitely need to start speaking out against it, and even within ourselves, look to see how are we contributing, right, with some of our preconceived notions on how people should dress or how people should act. So, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Okay. Next, we have one of, actually, I don't see her. I don't know where she went. Okay. So next we have another dear soul by the name of Luna. I'm just going to bring Luna up.
Hi, how are you? Oh, wait. Sorry, I had a birthday, so it's got a whole lot of balloons here.
Oh.
How is everyone? Thank you so much for having me. This topic, I was a little young when this topic came to me. It didn't happen to me personally, but out of four of us, it was three of my friends. Every single one of them, other than myself, had been by 13 touched or molested. And I was shocked at the time because I was just like, how could this ever happen? And I would only see, obviously, people would speak about it in movies and things like that. And then I heard it happen a lot in families, and in my family particularly. And a lot of those things weren't discussed, especially back in the day. So I actually was putting together, I spoke to you about this before, but I was putting together this book during COVID, and it's called Connecting While Social Distancing. And one of the people that were closest to me ended up telling me the story about her during her marriage, because the last thing I knew, she had a beautiful marriage and a baby. And people don't realize during your marriage, it still can be rape. It still can be still be abuse. And after doing her interview and writing her poem, this poem came about, and she found it healing, and hopefully anyone that's listening finds it healing as well. And you just got to keep on talking about the subject, so that, because I think a lot of us think that, like you said, it comes from someone on the street or someone that we know, but it could even be the person that you're married to as well. So I will get to my poem.
Okay.
It's called Bread and Body. Her hands found comfort in repetitive movements that wielded and mimicked a balance between a cyclic of destruction and restoration. And as sure as the sun rose every time morning, these same hands encoutered themselves yeast-coated, and by the brewing of the darkened heavens, they were once again honeymooned, varnished with oils of lavender, coconut, and jojoba, and yet her palms and expectations had toughened through the years, becoming too familiar with knuckles pummeling down and out, insecurities and extremities shifting with the form of her body. She found safety in kneading away tension knots and flour lumps, fingers lengthening and enfolding supple layers of substance, while she, other than perform her tenured, took every expression of delight as a thank you, trying her best not to feel expressions of rage that seemed to always be followed by I love you. For he brought home the bacon, a temper, sore muscles and joints, sugar, yeast, and lack of conversation, salt and flour, mistrust, and a fist full of justification, while his hands, they religiously found comfort in repetitive movements that wielded and mimicked a cyclic of destruction for his ego's restoration. And that is Bread and Body.
Thank you so much, Luna. I feel like everyone's piece is just highlighting, an important aspect of this conversation. Oftentimes, people don't think that you can be sexually assaulted within a marriage. And there was a point in time in this country where that was definitely not acknowledged at all. It was not considered a crime. But I think that, again, by just raising awareness to that particular fact, hopefully, this can reach somebody who is in a situation where maybe they were either raised to think that this is not something that occurs, or maybe they've somehow been, just made to think that. But just to let people know that you can be sexually assaulted in your marriage.
I think a lot of us believe there are certain roles that we play as women. Like when I speak about like the motions of creating like bread, food, and also like parts of it, like taking care of your partner, and then also the same movements that are made to abuse and to take from. It's one of those things that people just go, that's what you are dealing with, or that's what it is, or that's his temper, that's who you're married to. And unfortunately, it's still even very hard to prove that in court when you're married to someone. And hopefully, we can kind of make headway with that, because a lot of times it can be just said as it being rough, or that's how our relationship has been. But I know a lot of individuals that have gone through that type of abuse through their marriages. So hopefully we can bring more awareness to that and make it a little bit more acceptable to go, or feel comfortable enough to go speak about this to police or someone that can help.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Luna.
Thank you.
And also, Luna, if you're still here, shout out your Instagram, because you're doing amazing things as well. You have an amazing book. I don't know where I put my. Wait a minute. Do I have it here?
No, I can do it if you want.
I always have your book ready and available when I'm doing a live, but it's called Kids for Black Lives Coloring Book.
Yes.
And as an adult, I find coloring very soothing.
Yes.
And so just to highlight that you're doing things for the community and you're addressing social issues through your art form as well.
Yeah, it's it was something, like you said, soothing. Everything's kind of soothing. I'm trying to find it in this crisis of COVID, with the coloring book, as well as with the book, the poetry book that'll be coming out is a poetry. And I'm a graphics designer and poet. And so every single interview that I did, connecting with people that I knew or connected with during a COVID, is from the interview. I created a poem and then art pieces that went with the poem, and that should be coming out next year. But a lot of them talk about different things such as death, relationships, growing up in inner city, things, anything that you can think of, I'm sure you can connect with on my Instagram at the moment. So it is ILU20 the book.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you guys can see all the artwork and poetry on there. And this one will be on there, I believe, next week, Monday. And it'll have a tag to all of Black Ivy Media and everything.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
All right. Okay. So next, I'm actually going to bring up a young brave man who is going to share his story as a survivor. And I think this is really important because when we talk about sexual assault, we mainly talk about women and how it affects women, and we rarely ever talk about how it affects, men. And I think that it's really important that as we're talking about raising awareness, that we actually touch on, all aspects of it. And so we have a young man by the name of Spencer who is going to share his story. Welcome, Spencer.
Thank you so much for having me here. I don't even really remember how you even found me, but the message I got the other day was just like such an honor, and I'm so happy to be here today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for, I think it was Asta actually. She had sent me your profile. She was like, I think he would be a great person for you to have on the program. And I'm not even sure if you know her. But...
I don't know. I just was like thinking about it because I saw on Instagram it was National Sexual Awareness Assault Awareness Month, and I thought immediately I can't share on that. Like that's not. I didn't want to dip my toe in a pool. That's not for me. Even though I've been assaulted several times. But within that same evening, I made the decision. I was like, no, this is the time to do this. And I feel like I'm in a good place to share this information and really bring some awareness to other people, especially those in the LGBTQ community. So yeah, I'm just so excited to be here. This is like kind of like a dream come true because I've always wanted to be seen and heard, and you definitely are creating a space for us. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm really honored that you are I guess expressing, everything that's been going on for the first time on our platform, that you feel comfortable enough to do this because it's not easy.
No, it's not. I'm actually super nervous. That post I did was only just like a snippet, and then when you asked me, I was like, okay, we're gonna go full in and we're gonna do this. So I guess to start, my story begins back in sophomore year of high school. As a gay man and trying to figure out who I was at the time, I found the wonderful app of Grindr, and in good intention of like finding people I can connect with, and just really know that there's other people out there like me that I could share these things with. Over the years, I've learned that that's not so much what that app has given me. It has brought a lot of hardship and stress and loss in trust and self, and I've had to dig myself out from there. I was 15, and I was on Grindr, and the chatting starts off, and then it goes to sending photos, and then all of a sudden you're in a car with a stranger in the middle of the night, and it was like this rush of excitement as a high schooler. You're like, yo, I'm sneaking out. Like, it's kind of like that fun thing to do. But I wasn't going to a high school party. I was going with a complete stranger. And that thrill was one thing that I really enjoyed. But later that evening, I realized that I should have never gotten in the car. It was a moment of complete like confusion and fear when I realized that I was in a situation that I didn't know how to get out of. You know, I had a phone. I could have done the things, you know, and the self-blaming is something that I really had to realize that I can't do anymore as a survivor. I have to like switch my narrative, and that's really important for me here. Things progressed, you know, as I got there, I was met with expectations I honestly wasn't ready to fulfill. And as I said, the things I thought I needed to say to stop what was happening, it wasn't enough, and it turned into directional, like, you got to do this, you have to do this, this will make it feel better, this will make it easier. You're stressing out. Like, I was the one causing the issue in the moment, and it wasn't them, you know. And with the assault that happened that day, you know, unfortunately drugs were involved, and that was the first time I ever had that's been brought up in my life. And as soon as, I mean, next thing you know, like, I'm just, I thought I had to trust these people in a sense because I didn't know what to do, you know. And so being held down and a needle being put in your arm was probably the most the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. And to come out of the other side from that was something I never thought I would be able to talk about. And today I'm like so proud of myself for even saying this stuff. But this was 8 years ago. You know, I was so young, and I knew the moment that I left, I had to find a way to change that, like erase that from my mind in a sense. So I did a lot of blaming myself. You know, how could I let him do that? You saw the signs before that this wasn't going in the right direction. You shouldn't have left your house. You shouldn't have gotten in the car. I should have done a lot of things to change the situation. And unfortunately, I just at the time was too vulnerable, and that's what happened. After that, and growing up and moving out and doing all the things, I've been traveling and running away from a lot of these feelings and emotions that I've been obviously suppressing for so long. And I wouldn't really be here without any of the support I had from my friends and family, because this is something that I didn't know was really just so rooted within me. And it comes along the shame, you know, because you know, growing up, my family didn't talk about things. They were very like put it under the rug. And, you know, I watched my coaches, my teachers, my dad, my grandpa be the most unemotional humans, to me at least. And I was at a young age already realizing that's how I had to be when I grew up. I needed to not be able to show emotion. I needed to be strong. I needed to not cry. And after that moment, I've only ever done those things. And that already distanced myself from, you know, people I thought I could trust. And when I've been holding something in for so long that I couldn't share, it was the most heartbreaking thing. So I'm just so happy I've been able to release this today with all of you. Sexual assault is something that I am so passionate about, and everyone that went before me, you guys are so courageous and inspiring. This is definitely a platform to do this on. So thank you so much. This has been an amazing experience, and it's the beginning of a journey of self-healing, and I hope to do this again someday and bring some awareness to those that have been affected. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Spencer. I know that it had to be really, really hard for you to just sit here and talk to a group of strangers live, right, about an experience that has affected you. But again, you know, as I've said throughout this show, it's really important that we speak up and that we share, because we don't know who's watching, who's listening, and who we're giving courage to. Right. A lot of people may have been where you are, where they're like, oh, I don't know if I really want to talk about this. I don't know if I can talk about it. But then now listening to you and now watching you, they're like, wow, like, you know, I see myself in him. I can do this too. And it's definitely a journey, and it's not going to you know, tomorrow is not going to be this, you know, I'm healed, I'm perfect. But at least, you know, the steps, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's definitely a process. And, you know, through recovery and other things I'm involved in, I've learned a lot about being able to accept the things I can't change, and to realize and take over the power of like what I can change. And right now, this is something I have control over, is speaking out and being a voice for others. And I am so grateful to do it. So thank you again so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Spencer. Okay, everyone. And so now we have the beautiful Renee Walker. She is actually one of Black Ivy Media's media writers. So if you've been on our website, if you've been following us on Instagram, you'll see many articles written by Renee Walker. So it's my pleasure to bring her up. Hello. Hey. Thank you for being here.
So is one piece, kind of a background about it is I was molested by my ex-pastor's son from the ages 6 to 10. And I kind of like say that now because I'm like, yeah, like it happened. But that's because like my way of coping is like being desensitized by it. And I actually didn't even think about what happened until like the age of 18. And that's kind of when I kind of had a meltdown about it. So this piece is my memories and thoughts as a 6-year-old being said by someone who is now 20. So yeah. So the piece is called This Lesson. The devil is in the details. No wonder my pastor's sermons were so long. Like parent, like child, his son follows suit, and God didn't prepare me for that shit. He didn't wear Prada, but rock Stacey Adams every Sunday. Built like the NFL's wet dream and every white girl's false rape accusation, but this time it was true. After the church parking lot became a war zone and sinners posed to be saints, I still never got to speak my truth without guilt, so here I am. Not holy enough to enter God's gates, but he was shown enough self-righteous enough to be named after the river that my Savior was baptized in, Jordan. I'm not afraid to speak your name, so Jordan. I lost track of how many engravings you carved into me. All the things you've taught me, I promised to listen to you, and here's a few things that I got out of that lesson. Never trust a man whose lies flutter like a boomerang when you're the one throwing it. I didn't think it would come back this hard. When church is in service and his eyes shift and slump your back into non-existence, lift your head and smile because you never had a bone to stand up straight anyway. When his arms become jail cells and your only friend is the wall behind you, you swallow your fear and accept that you're not going to get any sleep tonight. As each Holy Sunday is turned into a game of Russian roulette, pray to God that the odds are ever in your favor, even when they never are. Sitting in the back of a car has never felt more dangerous to a little girl. When it seems that your protection is actually in the front seat, oblivious to the battle cries behind the partition walls of Jericho. When your dress is lifted by hands that are not your mother's, by hands that are not your sisters, by hands that are not your grandmother's, you close your eyes and pretend that they're God's. That he came down just to give his precious angel a checkup. All you needed was for someone to check up. Baby girl promised to keep your head up. The color of his bedroom becomes synonymous with your nightmares. Now you can't stand blue even though it was your favorite color. Your back becomes a home away from home even though it was never your choice to stay there. His fingers are weapons of mass destruction, penetrating your belief that God was ever there to begin with. This lesson was hard to begin with, and I was never okay to begin with. So I stuffed and stifled this story into Bible verses, praying that God would turn my abuser into salt, praying that I was good enough to be a parable to be told over a pulpit, touching the hearts of the congregation that listened. I wonder if they knew how much I screamed for them to listen. You're only as good as the church you preach in. So tell me, how holy is your son? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Renee. I knew Renee was talented as a writer, but this is the first time that I've heard her do spoken word. And I really, really appreciate you for, again, just being vulnerable and sharing your story here with us tonight through your art form. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much for letting me even do this.
Of course, of course. Okay, everyone. So we are nearing the end of the program. We had a few people unfortunately have to drop just due to other circumstances. Um, but I just want to thank you all for just tuning in. I mean, we had a solid hour, and to keep people's attention on a topic like this, it's usually, not the easiest thing to accomplish. So I thank you guys for being part of raising the awareness by joining the live today and just being here within the comments and supporting the different artists and the different individuals who were outspoken with respect to what happened to them and sharing their stories. I thank you guys for just being part of the awareness and for just helping us change the narrative. Right, that's the main idea, the main mission of Black Ivy Media is to change the narrative so that together we can change the world. And this is just one of the many social issues that we need to address. And I think especially within the Black community, although sexual assault, again, it sees no color, it sees no creed, but within our community, we really need to talk about these issues because it runs rampant. Um, and everyone has shared, and I always like to end, I guess, with whatever my story is, because I can't have everybody share their story and then me not share myself. I've been doing this work for several years. I've had events raising awareness for sexual assault. And some people are like, why do you do this? Like, why are you always having these events? Like, is there something that we need to know? And unfortunately, like most, let me not say most, but like many women who have presented tonight, unfortunately, I guess I'm a one of the many, right, that has been I guess victim to assault. And it's one of these things where I never thought that I myself would talk about it, even though I encourage other people to do so. But as I got older, I realized that in order to truly heal, even when you don't really think you need the healing, you need to you know take the steps in the direction to really let go, right? To let go and to move forward. And unfortunately, as children, we don't have a lot of power, and we're powerless, right? And especially if our parents were working and leaving us with strangers, essentially, to care for you. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of the abuse is taking place. And so, as a child, there were several instances where I was unfortunately placed in, very precarious situations. And I think that as a young woman growing up, we do a good job of blocking certain traumas to the point where you don't even realize if you were actually traumatized, or if you actually went through a certain event. But I think that through therapy and through just being a child of God, and just being, just someone who just wanted to, always live a better life, right? A lot of us have a lot of childhood trauma, and our dream in life and our goal in life is to just live better and to be better and to do better. And I think with just those being my goals, I've gotten to a place where I'm no longer dwelling on the past, no longer dwelling on, what happened, and, and I'm truly moving forward. And so that's why I host these types of events, because sexual assault is not something it's not something that people want to talk about. And then even when you do talk about it with either family or even certain friends, there's just weird cloud that's around it. Like, I've had people tell me, listen, that's just what happens, back then to kids. Like, everybody's been assaulted. Like, that's just what it is. And they expect you to just accept that this is the reality and to move forward. And I refuse to accept that as being a reality. And I think that having a child myself, and just wanting better for this next generation, we can't accept that these things just happen and that this is just part of the culture, or this is part of the narrative. I think that we need to be different and to act differently, not just for ourselves, but for the next generation, for our children. I hope that there's a day where we don't have to cite these statistics anymore. 1 out of 5 Black girls will be raped before they're 18. 1 out of 6 young boys will be sexually assaulted before the age of 18. I hope that we can get to a place in society where these numbers are no longer, and that our children, don't have to live through trauma the way we did. And so, this is why, I do these events. It's not lethargic, cathartic. I'm tired, guys, but cathartic, I think, for me. But also just giving people an opportunity to just, listen, and whether they choose to speak out or not, it's their choice, but at least they are seeing examples of people that are speaking out and that are trying to do, the best that they can to move forward. So I really do want to thank you all for tuning in. Once again, thank you to all of the spoken word artists, all of the presenters, the survivors who were so brave to come forward and to share their stories, whether it was through spoken word or just by talking about, their experience. I just this event could not have gotten any better, in my opinion. And I look forward to having more of these types of events. I don't want to just wait till it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month to only have these discussions. I just wanted to shout out our dear sister, Phonetic Wisdom, who has a talk tomorrow night on Instagram. Her information is in the chat, so definitely support her. She's doing the work with other sisters and brothers in the community. And so we want to be able to support our people who are doing these amazing things. And so without keeping you guys, for too long, sorry, we have one more person actually who wanted to speak. So I actually am going to give them the opportunity because that's what we're about, giving people the opportunity to speak. So I'm going to go ahead and share with them this the link so that they can join. Hope you guys can just bear with me, please, as I go ahead and share the link. In the meantime, if there is anyone who actually wants to speak, I definitely want to give you the opportunity to do so. And let's see here. Okay. So in a few moments, we will have someone else come up and share their story. Okay. Let's see. All right. Well, as we are waiting for her to join the live, I might as well put in some selfish plugs. So my voice is a little bit subdued today. For those of you who know me, I normally don't talk this soft, but I'm a bit under the weather, but I'm doing the best that I can. But I just want to encourage you guys to please follow us at Black Ivy Media. We are trying to, change the narrative every way that we can by various digital media platforms, through our media writers. Like I said, Renee, who performed not too long ago, she is one of our media writers. Her articles are amazing, and we have some other media writers from around the world. So I encourage you to go onto our website and check out our article section and support them by reading what they have to say, by hearing them share their voice. I also just encourage you guys to follow us on Instagram at Black Ivy Media, on Facebook if that's your platform of choice, and of course on YouTube. We have a lot of things in store. But in order for you guys to know about that, you definitely have to follow us. So follow us so you guys can be part of the movement that we are slowly building. I just also wanted to shout out some other individuals in the group. I see Ja Ace, he is part of Build and Reason. Build and Reason is an amazing platform that is out here working with the youth, and they are a part of the Black Ivy Media Network. So just shout out to them. I also see Miss New York American, who is in the room. Thank you so much for joining. she has always been such a great supporter of Black Ivy, everything that I've done actually, not just Black Ivy, but all of my ventures. So thank you so much, Miss New York American, for being part of this event. And again, just to all of you who are still tuning in, we're just going to give it a couple more minutes for her to join the live. And I think that, let's see. I think that hopefully she should be able to join in. All right, as we're still waiting, I'm just going to go through some of the comments that were made in today's event with respect to, somebody had made a comment, I believe it was Ladies Health, that stated that, there's, I guess in quotations, I've never dated a woman who has not been sexually assaulted. That's definitely been a comment that I've heard from a lot of men. When it comes to, you know, the dating scene, that every woman that they've dated has been sexually assaulted. And it's very unfortunate, but I think that that's where our work comes in. That's where we step in to change that narrative so that that's not a comment, right? That a man will say that every woman that they've dated has been, you know, sexually assaulted. And I hope that today's event has really opened everyone's eyes to the fact that sexual assault is not something that you really bring on yourself. Nobody sits here and says, I want to be sexually assaulted, right? Nobody steps up and says, you know, I want to be raped today. It's not something that people choose. And, you know, regardless of what you're wearing or how you talk or whatever, nobody chooses this, right? And so, unfortunately, you know, with men and women who are victims and survivors of sexual assault, it shouldn't be held against them that this is what's going on, right? It should not be held against them at all, because a lot of us who were unfortunately violated were done so at, you know, very young ages. And it's not something that should be held over our heads. And so I just hope that that message is clear when it comes to sexual assault, and you know who can be a victim, who can be a survivor, and you know how survivors are to be perceived moving forward. So I really hope that that point was made. And so I'm still getting a message that we're holding on. We're going to give it one more minute because I know you guys are being very patient with being on here. I'm just looking to see if there were any more comments that were made. Sexual assault. Oh, okay, she's here. The sexual assault in marriage is real, and there's not enough conversation about it. That is true, and I'm happy that we were able to highlight that tonight. It's something that people think doesn't exist. People think that if you're married, there's no such thing as rape. And that's not true. And so we're hoping that that message was shared tonight. And so here I'm going to bring to the stage Debbie Lewis, who is going to share with us some thoughts and her story with respect to sexual assault. Hello, Debbie Lewis.
Hi, Rita.
Thank you for joining. I know that, you know, it was kind of like supposed to be an open mic at one point, but it was a little difficult to do so on this platform. But I'm really happy that, you know, you kept in contact and we were able to get you on to be part of this important event.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I know how important this is. And as we're gearing up towards the last few days of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, it's important for us to have, you know, conversations and encourage one another while, you know, some people are still healing and understanding some things that they have gone through or friends and family have gone through.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the stage.
Thank you very much. So excited to be here. This is actually my first time speaking about my sexual assault experience publicly. I have recently gone to therapy and trying to work through the issues that have come from my experiences and the trauma that I have experienced, and this trauma that I brought into my marriage. And so I've just recently been able to speak about it without being emotional. And this is my first this is my first time speaking about it, but this is my first year in general, just really coming out about my experience and different things that have happened, which have propelled me to do the work that I do, and which gives me the stepping stones to really, dive into my everyday life. And so my first experience with sexual assault was when I was 5 years old, and I had to live next door to my abuser for over a little bit over 20 years, and I couldn't say anything. My abuser pulled a gun out on me and told me that if I said anything, that he would kill my entire family. And I was threatened a number of times. And that was the first time I saw a gun too. I wasn't even 10 years old. And this was something that triggered me every time I saw this person. And years later, as a teenager, I was able to actually see this person get arrested for a whole different crime. And I thought that was the end of it. And when he came back home from prison, the trauma got worse. I started acting out and started doing different things because I just didn't want to be home. And I found myself being outside and being a busybody because, being home triggered me. Being around my family and my friends actually triggered me because the trauma was in a space that should have been my safe space. So, I'm still trying to learn. I still have my childhood home. I'm still trying to learn how to go in there and not think about the things that have happened. I also had, an older gentleman who used to watch all the kids on the block, who used to, do very disgusting things to us. And so, just going back home sometimes really triggers and pops up memories of daunting times in my life, and some of my neighbors who are young girls too, who experience some of the things that I have. And so I'm still dealing with it, and I'm so happy to have this platform, Rita. Thank you so much for inviting me on the Black Ivy Media platform to talk through some of my traumas. But what I will say is that if you don't feel comfortable talking about it to everyone or on a platform like this, find one person to really talk through some things with, whether that be a therapist, a confidant, or someone, because the more you internalize these things and the more you don't realize how to heal from it or how to build and make stepping stones so it does not have you just always rock bottom, it really does a lot of internal damage. And that is something that I had to learn the hard way. And unfortunately, I had to bring a lot of that baggage into my marriage, into different relationships. And it's kind of like, you living in the closet. I lived in the closet with this fear, with this trauma for many, many years. And I did not know how to break free from it because someone literally scared me into trauma at the same time that they almost ruined my life. And so, being able to find an outlet has been one of the best things for me. And it has helped me tremendously with figuring out what to do next and how to help other people so they don't experience the same things that I went through. And so I'm extremely grateful for, one, not being emotional, and two, for getting through this very trying topic. And I hope that people find the same solace that I have, and find outlets and different spaces where you can be yourself and be honest, and where people don't judge you, and where you can find the most support that you possibly can as you are going through next steps. So who are you after trauma? And that's currently where I am, because I didn't realize that although it happened to me many years ago, that it was still just it made who I was in a good way and in a bad way. And so who am I after trauma is the place where I am now, and happy to be on this journey. And actually happy to never see my abusers again, because it's still a really big trigger for me. But I'm working through the smaller details, and moving away from the blame, because I blamed my family a lot, for not being around, for not recognizing the signs, for not making me comfortable enough to speak out. And I'm working through all of that, and although it's not their fault, but as a young kid, I lived with a lot of this stuff, not knowing exactly what was happening to me, and then being scared straight for it. So hope that everyone finds a space where they can speak out, and find their peace. So thank you so much, Rita.
Thank you, Debbie. And again, just listening to everybody share their story, their journey, whether it was through spoken word or whether it was just through outright talking about it. I really commend you, because you know what? Again, it really takes us stepping forward to talk about what's going on, because somebody can look at you and say, wow, really? That happened to you? Like, I would never expect that, right? And there are people that look like you and I who probably were, I don't want to say content, but we're just never going to address the issue because they just didn't know if it was something that they could do. But now looking at, you stepping forward and sharing your story that might be similar to so many other young women and young men, I definitely think that it's inspirational. And there's a lot of firsts happening tonight on this on this platform. So I thank you for even trusting us to be where you would even come out and share this. And I really do hope that the people who are watching understand that, again, like, it's not the easiest thing to talk about, even years later, 20 years later, 30 years later. It's something that you live with for the rest of your life, but I guess it's how you choose to live with it moving forward, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's the how you choose to live with it. So the who are you after this whole thing. Right? So yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing, Debbie.
Thank you.
And so definitely it was worth the wait to bring her on. I think that her story really completed this event, in a sense, because oftentimes we think that survivors have a particular look, that they have a particular like persona. But again, anybody can be a survivor. And I really liked the fact that Debbie talked about therapy. I think that that's a missing piece a lot of times in these conversations, is therapy, to be able to move past the trauma. And oftentimes as young people coming up with trauma, we're not seeing therapists. We don't have people to really talk to with respect to this. I think it's important that if you are somebody who has experienced some trauma, even if you feel like you've somehow gotten past it and that you're living your life, I would still encourage you to seek out therapy, because I guarantee that there is some aspect of your past that you are suppressing, and that suppression is somehow manifesting its way in how you act with other people, how you act with intimate partners. A lot of times that's how you see your trauma manifest, in the way that you interact with other individuals. I would say, when I was, even up until a few years ago, I never hugged people. I was never a hugger. And people didn't understand why I didn't hug. I just didn't like people touching me. And that's not something that I really realized until a friend of mine was like, "You don't like to hug people. What's up with that?" And that's when I had to sit back and wonder, where did that come from? So a lot of us are walking around with trauma and we don't really know it because we're not able to see it. But I think that's why, as a family, it's important for us to hold each other accountable and for us to really be there as a support system and to point things out so that we can be aware and so that we can then get the necessary assistance that we need to move forward. So again, thank you guys so much for being part of this event. Thank you again to all of the speakers, all of the spoken word artists. We will definitely have another event like this again, and I hope that we get a lot more people to participate. Now that you see that this is somewhat of a safe space, I really look forward to engaging with you all moving forward and having an even better event than we had tonight. So with that being said, everyone, thank you so much. Please remember to follow us at Black Ivy Media and to visit our website and to support our media writers who write amazing articles where they too are being vulnerable with their stories. And with that being said, everyone, have a good night.